Hello. So I was thinking today about religious indoctrination and how it affects the way people think about the world and think about reality and just think in general. It started because I was reading this article about a man who's now in his 30s who, at the age of 5, was indoctrinated into basically a fundamentalist end times Christian cult where, everybody was talking about how the end of the world was coming and how those who weren't saved would be exposed to plagues of insects and boils and fire and brimstone and decapitation and all this sorts of stuff, and how it completely tainted his worldview and it changed everything for him. It changed the way he thought about his family. He was constantly worrying if they'd been saved. He went on to describe how some of his family members took this so seriously that they followed literally Jesus' command to cut off your hand if it offends you, for fear that it might somehow corrupt the rest of your body or something like that. And they literally cut their hand off because they did something with their hands that they thought was wrong. Eventually he grew up and went off to college and lost his faith and is now kind of, I'm not really sure if he was an atheist or a deist or secular or something. But anyways, he talks about how even now, if he hears his family members talking about the end times or any snippet of biblical text, that he goes into panic attacks and he feels like he's going to break down and curl up into a ball and just dissolve into a puddle of tears. And, I was never in anything quite that extreme personally. But when I was growing up, I was constantly thinking about how wonderful heaven was going to be, and how great it was going to be to get to see all my relatives who died and all this kind of stuff. And when I realized that none of this was real, I was a little disappointed that this stuff wasn't real. But it was never real to begin with, so it wasn't as if I'd really lost anything. But the problem is that because I'd grown up thinking that way, it totally changed how I react to things. Just like that guy in his article was talking about, sometimes I'll hear my parents or somebody talking about religious issues and I freeze up mentally. I just can't think about it or I can't discuss it. And I stop talking and instead of having a conversation about it, I'll just kind of go quiet and say, yeah, and stuff like that. And it's more than just a mental lock. It's a physiological reaction. I feel my heart speed up, my chest tightens up, and it gets hard to breathe. And it's all because at one point in my life, I believed that I had a source of absolute, perfect truth. It was completely incorruptible. Everything about it was true. The world was against me, and I knew I had to go out and save people's souls or bring them to Jesus or whatever. And now, when I hear people talking about these things, and they just talk about them casually, like it's no big deal. Oh yeah, of course everybody believes in God. Everybody knows God's real. But I don't know that there's a God. I don't know that there isn't one, but I don't believe that there is one. So I hear people talking about this stuff, and it's just no big deal to them. But when I hear it, it brings back the mindset that I had when I was a fundamentalist. And it brings back that sense of certainty and that emotional conviction that you get with knowing, absolutely knowing, with 100% surety that what you believe is true. And then I realize, wait a minute, no, this isn't true. What am I doing? Where is my mind going? What's happening to me? And you start to lock up, and it's like a poison that has forced its way into my mind. And no matter how much I tell myself that it's not true, and I really don't believe it's true, it's not like there's something deep inside me that's saying, oh, what if it really is true? No, I don't think it is. The biblical God couldn't exist. The things that the Bible claims about him are impossible. Logically impossible. Not just physically, not whatever. Unless you want to believe that God violates the laws of logic, which isn't much of a God, then the Bible is logically impossible. No matter how much I repeat to myself that this stuff isn't true, the virus that's dug its way into my mind, this indoctrination, the upbringing in the thought that these things are true, still surfaces. And it's become part of my unconscious. It's not even something that I have to consciously do. And so they change the way I think, they change the way I behave, they change the way I perceive the world, they change the way that I construct logical arguments. I'll still find myself occasionally slipping into, some fallacy or another that's common when used by a creationist, but not by somebody who actually makes rational sense. But this religious indoctrination is very destructive. It doesn't do anything to actually prepare you for the real world. It doesn't give you a framework in which to make good, objective decisions, rational decisions. All it does is tell you you're right, other people are wrong, and you should make them believe you so that they can be right too. It doesn't allow you to incorporate any new information. It doesn't allow you to examine your own beliefs to see whether they make sense or not. Because examining your beliefs means that you're doing it wrong. If you have to even question your beliefs, then you're not really believing it. No. It's this idea that, like I said in my previous video about being a true Christian, that if you ever stop believing something, you never really believed it in the first place. Which, I guess that's kind of bad news for Christians right now, because, they could eventually become an atheist, which would mean that they never really believed it in the first place. I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But, it's a mindset that doesn't allow for doubt. Doubt is a sign of weakness. Questioning is a sign that your mind's being tainted by the devil. So, it's a nice closed system. It keeps you locked in, because if you really believe everything that the Bible says, you can never question it. You can never doubt it. Anytime you do, it's a sign that you're being tempted by Satan and that your soul's in danger. So it's a trap for the mind. It traps you into this system where the only way out is to just throw it all away. And that's what I did. And still, the dogma burrowed itself deeply enough into my mind that I can bring up the same feelings again that I had when I believed it. And it makes me very uneasy to do that, because I know it's not true, but it still affects me, and I don't think that'll ever go away. It's indoctrination for you.